Understanding the guessing game. An introduction to the new students coding this new game that you're going to try and build. Today we'll be exploring the code for this guessing game. This is where players will compete against the computer and each other. The code is a great introduction for new coding students. It demonstrates the use of loops, conditionals, and user input. At the beginning of the code, we import the random module. This module is imported from the general library. It's a code or a module that already calculates random numbers, so you do not have to write this feature yourself. This random numbers will be used throughout the game to create a dynamic and unpredictable experience for the player. We update the high score, the current round number, and also the prime high score. After updating the high score, we then display it to inform the user about the current best performance. So as always, at the beginning of the code, we initialize all the variables that we will be needing throughout the program. We then use the input function to get the player's name. This will allow us to personalize the game experience by addressing the player by their name during the game. The main loop is controlled by a while loop. This loop will continue as long as the player has indicated by using a Y as an entry that they wish to play and continue to play. This will allow the player to have multiple rounds of the game without having to restart the entire program. Inside the main game loop, we ask the player to provide the minimum and the maximum number for the guessing game. We use the int function to convert their inputs into integers. As normal, Python takes all inputs as string, so we need to make sure we convert it to an integer if we want to do anything with maths on it. This we use to generate the target number score and the computer's guess. We then prompt the player to enter their guess, and we also generate the computer's guess by using the random integer number again. So random.randomInt will produce a random number in the range that's in the brackets, and it'll be an integer, so it'll be a whole number. We generate the target number once again by using the random.randomInt function, which will pick a random number between the minimum and the maximum range. Both the player and the computer will attempt to guess this target number to win the game. The inner game loop is controlled by another while loop. This is nested inside the first one. This loop continues running until either the player or the computer guesses the target number correctly. This is where the actual guessing process takes place. We use an if-else statement to provide hints to the player based upon their guess. These hints inform the player whether their guess is too high or too low, helping them adjust their future guessing accordingly. Inside the inner game loop, we request a new guess from the player and update the computer's guess each time the loop goes round. We also increment the turns variable to keep track of how many turns it takes to find the correct answer. The inner game loop ends. We use another if-then-else statement to determine the winner based on who guessed the target number correctly. We then update the player and computer wins accordingly. In this slide, we see the code that asks the player if they want to play the guessing game again. We use the input function again. This time we use the user response, which is stored in the play again variable. The game will continue looping as long as they enter Y. We also use a lower to make sure that it doesn't matter if you enter a capital Y or lowercase y, it will continue. After the user decides not to play anymore, the final score is displayed using a formatted string. The print function prints the final score with the player's name, the number of wins for the player and the number of wins for the computer. This is a formatted string. You can see it's got the lowercase f, and we use the curly brackets to insert the variables in the middle of the string. This is a much more elegant and simple method to use, but the comma followed by the variable is still useful. This brings us to the end of our code walkthrough for the guessing game. We hope you now have a better understanding of how the game is structured and you're ready to start experimenting with your code on your own. Happy coding!